The topping out is really more than just the completion of the building, but you're really celebrating the ability for us to bring more access to medical care in our community.
It was a milestone moment for Advent Health and the greater Palm Coast community as the final beam was hoisted upon the new 4-story, 100-bed hospital as part of a topping out ceremony. Dr. Mark Kilman is the Chief Medical Officer for Advent Health Palm Coast.
What you're really celebrating is also all the people that worked on that building. So we're talking about every contractor, subcontractor, all the companies that helped us. It's really more than just the building. You're really celebrating everybody that's part of the building.
Dr. Kilman tells WNZF the hospital that's slated to open next spring will benefit the community in several ways.
Increased access to more beds. And as you know, we're building a MOB next door to the hospital, so there'll also be more outpatient physicians there as well. When you talk about the overall access, we'll increase the number of beds, the number of physicians. When you talk about our beds, it's not just the number of beds, because obviously our community continues to grow, and it's growing at a rapid rate. So having the more beds will increase the access for the community to come into the hospital. But also what you look at is the type of beds. So when we open this hospital, we're going to open up with 20 intensive care unit beds. Those beds, we have the ability to increase that up to 40 intensive care unit beds. And the way they're built to where you can keep the airflow separate from each room in case we have another pandemic.
The hospital near Bridgehaven Drive, which will feature an emergency department, full-service imaging, operations suites, endoscopy services, and an outpatient lab, that combined with a medical office building next door will bring up to 700 new jobs to the area. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you. Flagler County's state representative weighs in on the recently passed ordinance dissolving Disney's Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Paul Renner says it's time for the legislature to review all of the state's improvement districts.
As the governor's made clear, and I would echo, is there's already been some effort to try to say, oh, this is going to create taxes for local citizens. That's just not true. But we do need to have an even playing field so that one entity doesn't have their own private government. Everybody else has got to play by the rules.
Renner says the bill that was signed by Governor DeSantis affects more than just Disney.
What happened in the case of Disney is after our 1968 Constitution, there needed to be a re-ratification process of all these special districts. We have 1,700 plus of them, and all of those were re-ratified except for Reedy Creek and 5 others that are spread around the state. So the bill covers all of those special districts. My point is we should expand that. But look, I mean, does it bring our attention? Perhaps, but at the end of the day, it's good policy for the reasons I stated, is that you shouldn't have one favored corporation in Florida that gets to play by a different set of rules than everybody else.
The new ordinance goes into effect June 1st of 2023. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
We've been in this building crisis since about 2017. It's really to a boiling point now.
The full Florida Senate will be considering a measure in an upcoming special session that reforms the state's property insurance market to stop fraud and coverage denials. Flagler County Commissioner Donald O'Brien, who's also an insurance agent and owner of Hayward Brown Flagler, says the state is in crisis mode in terms of availability and premiums.
We've had some home price growth, but not that bad. So on the replacement cost side, so now what's going on is most policies have an inflation adjustment factors in them that they haven't really been invoked, that they've been low. So now the carriers, on top of all the premium increases, they're also, raising the dwelling coverages on policies to reflect the inflationary impacts. So that's another whammy that's hitting the insureds at the same time because they're getting premium increases, so they need to have higher coverage to cover the replacement costs.
If passed, the measure would create a $2 billion reinsurance fund and prohibit insurers from automatically denying coverage for roof replacement on older roofs. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Amy Cherry.
An arrest for burglary in Bunnell leads to additional charges.
The Flagler County Sheriff's Office has arrested 49-year-old William Popowich for attempted burglary of a Bunnell home. Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
Where a resident saw someone on their security cameras trespassing on their property and trying to enter the home while they were away. Deputies responded, caught the individual, and arrested him for attempted burglary.
Sheriff Staley adds while deputies were putting Popowich in handcuffs, they found a methamphetamine bubble pipe, hypodermic syringe, and a bag of brown powder. The powder was field tested positive for the presence of fentanyl. He was additionally charged with felony possession of fentanyl and possession of paraphernalia. Popowich has been convicted of 5 felonies in Flagler County since 2014. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
Reach, throw, don't go.
Flagler County Fire Rescue's John Raffo says there are several techniques for saving a person who gets caught in a tough spot in the ocean. One of them is called reach, throw, don't go.
If we can reach and throw, do we have a noodle? Do we have a life preserver? Do we have a life jacket? Something that can help them float. One of the things we want to emphasize is don't go.
Raffo said on a recent episode of the Flagler Voice that if one goes into the water to help another, then water rescue has two people to save. That's why it's called reach, throw, don't go. To listen to the Flagler Voice, check it out on Saturday mornings at 8:30 on WNZF or anytime on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, Rip Currents. From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.